open the door if we can.
So progress is going awesome. Painting is amazing. It's funny looking around, like it's hard to tell that it's super white yet because it's not totally covered. But when you go over here, and it's like I painted down here and I haven't painted up there. And you can totally tell, super white, dirty. And that's what the whole place looked like, all spotty and nasty and stuff. Yeah, so we're doing the door, we're doing everything. And we're using a Home Depot airless sprayer, which has been fantastic. Once I learned how to use it and kind of figured out the little intricacies of it, it works super awesome. I probably shouldn't be not wearing my mask right now. But we only bought one 5-gallon pail of paint, of wall paint, and we're definitely going to need another one. So I'm going to go out and get that right now.
It's going to be hard to get some of that.
Yeah. First coat done. I have a lot of paint on me. But it's fun. Eric's up there spraying again, second coat, so the first coat's all done. We did the door, we did everything. The door looks awesome now. Everything just looks fantastic. This was totally worth the effort. So over here, this will kind of be my section, and I did the ceiling again. It doesn't look super white, but it does help. It's better. So I did all in there just to add more light. And then the second coat here should hopefully get rid of all the darker spots. And then we're going to send this whole thing out to get powder coated. And probably that table too. But yeah. And then later we'll paint the stairs, and then last thing we'll paint the floors. And this place is going to be brand new. You ready to paint?
Yeah.
Tell me what's going on.
So we are at Daddy's new workshop, and we're gonna paint the stairs and the walls.
No, the walls are done.
Okay, we're gonna paint the stairs.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're gonna paint the floor on the two upstairs.
Yeah. Let's get painting. So we have had this place for just over 2 weeks now. Huge amount of progress. As you can see, the walls are white, the trim is gray, the stairs are gray, Eric is gray. Eric's been doing most of the painting because he's awesome like that. But everything is actually clean.
And the cleaning.
Yeah, Eric did most of the cleaning too. I just kind of stand around and Instagram. No, not really. But yeah, I mean, I think everything except for the floors is basically done. He painted all this gray. All the walls are white. The railings we're probably going to powder coat. Leif's here helping us today. And yeah, final clean of the floor. As you can see, we got a lot of overspray from the spraying the walls. We laid down drop cloths, but it's a pressurized paint sprayer, so it just blew the drop cloths away. And this paint sticks quite well. It's not really coming off the floor very well. You can see Eric pressure washed here, and it's still not coming off very well. But if it's sticking now, it means it's got good adhesion, so we'll probably just leave it. So the final step is to pressure wash the rest of the paint off the floor, like here you can see where he did and didn't. And then muriatic acid etch the floor, which we just did a little test over here. This little section we muriatic, you can see how it's cleaner, as well as this little section through the paint, and it got some of the paint up. But yeah, so spray the whole floor with muriatic and then hose it all off when it stops bubbling and let the floors dry for a couple days. Then we're ready for epoxy. That's where we had all their cans and stuff. It's hilarious. So, any thoughts from the man of the hour? You even dressed up for work today.
I did. Got my bow tie on.
Represent the Ferrum Forge. These shirts are awesome.
They are.
Yeah, I've been watching Leif all week, so I haven't really had a chance to be here much.
Yeah, I don't know. Like with the metal and stuff, you got to do 2 coats. Because the first coat looks like it's got everything, and then it dries, and there's stuff missing, and there's a couple spots that I'm seeing right now that I'll have to redo. But yeah, all this stuff is great. The paint on the stairs seems awesome, and hasn't fully cured yet, but it seems quite durable, and just feels nicer in here already.
Mm-hmm.
Can sit on things and
You want to go upstairs?
not get shots afterwards.
Take you up here. Painted the floor up here. The floors on that side look amazing. We painted the garage door. These floors were so gross before, but now they look awesome. Yes, Leif? Yeah? What's up? We're gonna sit here and watch each other. Welcome! Yet another day cleaning the new Grimsmo Knives workshop! So, the concrete looks amazing because Eric muriatic acid etched it the other day. It's still not spotless, but it's as good as it's gonna get. But you can tell the color is just so much lighter. Anyway, we're cleaning up right now because we're getting ready to epoxy the floors once they dry out. All the cracks are still wet. But this shelving unit was attached to the wall right there, but we're going to move it to over there. Except the problem is, it doesn't fit. It's like they made it in here. As you can see, the beams are so high, they don't fit underneath this I-beam. So we're going to have to tilt the whole thing down just to be able to scoot it out.
They made it to match the trim on that side, so it was like stuck into the wood.
Yeah. And so we got all the wood pieces out. There were so many metal chips in here, it was disgusting. But we got it all cleaned up, and then we're gonna have this baby powder coated, and it's gonna be amazing. Amaze balls. So with the shelf down and out of the way, this whole corner all of a sudden opened up and feels enormous, whereas before it was kind of filled up with a shelf. So my arrangement plans for putting all the machinery everywhere might have changed now, because now I have this whole area. is now open. So I don't know. Welcome back, another day, another project. Today we are filling the cracks in our somewhat clean concrete. So there's some bigger holes. The theory being, of course, you want it to look a little bit better when it's all painted, and also you don't want all your epoxy paint to fill in the cracks and kind of waste your epoxy paint. But the crack filler is not very cheap either. And where'd it go? Eric just sort of figured out a huge disadvantage of this stuff. So this is what we got. Miracle Bond, Easy Flow. It looks pretty awesome. It's got some big claims on it. You can put it on wet surfaces, underwater, almost anything. It's a two-part epoxy that mixes in the tip. The tip's got all these waves in it. That's pretty sweet. Except it's labeled as only 8.6 ounces. So if Eric will show us the tube, I took the label off of this. That's the epoxy. That's the spacer. So the thing's not even half full. That's pathetic. Where's the empty one? Here it is. So that's the empty one. I mean, it's disappointing. Because you get it and you're like, oh, there's the thing, and it's full, right? Nope. So anyway, we got 3 tubes. It's about $22 each, which adds up. At that kind of price, you wonder if just letting the epoxy fill the holes, the cracks, is good enough. But yeah, there's a lot of cracks. And there's some bigger holes, like that thing. Anyway, yeah, so that's what we're doing today. We're having fun with it. It's a hot one today. But it is cooler in the shop than it is outside. And so Eric muriatic acid etched the floors a couple days ago, and as you can tell, they look really good, like right there. But there's still these water spots that are coming up. Like,
I think it's more oil than...
It's oil and water. Like some of these spots just never got dry because they're kind of oily. But over here, this whole section is wet because
It looked pretty good before.
yeah, it was dry before, but you can actually see some water droplets misting up here. And we had a really big rain a couple days ago, yesterday I think, and I guess all that groundwater is just kind of coming up here, so it would really suck if we epoxied the floors and the paint started lifting in a little bit because the ground's just too wet.
I mean, it could just be the humidity is, bubbling on the oily stuff, and it's not. Like, it's
True.
kind of soaking into the non-oily stuff.
Yeah, I looked, it's 88% humidity today. It's kind of a lot.
Yeah, kind of.
So I don't know. I mean, we're not going to keep doing this for the next month. I want to get it done.
Yeah.
I was hoping to epoxy today. That's not going to happen. Maybe tomorrow. So yeah, I don't know. So this epoxy crack filler is lasting for a disappointingly small amount of time. We've done that crack. That took about 1 tube to go to here. And then we just did this and the front for a second tube. And I mean, there's still a lot more to do. There's this crack here, there's that one, there's this one. And some of them we don't have to fill completely. It's just kind of the bigger gouges and stuff. We want them nicer. So we got those for about $22 from Sherwin-Williams, where we got all the paint. Eric's going to Home Depot right now. They list something on their website for about $6. I don't think it's a 2-part epoxy, but it is a concrete driveway crack filler. So we're going to get some and try it out. It takes a lot longer to dry. It's 24 hours to dry instead of 2 hours for this stuff. So that sucks. But it's way cheaper, and it should let us actually fill everything properly. So we're going to try that out and see how it works. I don't know. At this point, I know that the epoxy floor paint is going to fill in the cracks a little bit because it is a 2-part epoxy. And I don't care if I still see the cracks, as long as they have a bottom and you can sweep them out and clean it. as opposed to a crack, which just kind of keeps going and it always gets full of dust and stuff. Because I want to keep this place pretty clean after all this work we put in. So another thing I forgot to mention is that for some of the bigger cracks, we're trying to fill it with sand or gravel or rocks to help just fill it in, because we realize we're wasting all this epoxy filling in a void that can be stuffed with a rock. And we've come to the conclusion that dirt sucks, sand sucks, anything small and gritty sucks, but the bigger rocks or smaller clean rocks are good. You know, we tried mixing sand in with the putty and mixing it together, but it's just a mess and it doesn't fill that well. But with a rock it works well. So from home I was able to get playground sand, whatever that stuff is, and rocks. And the rocks are by far the best thing. So you can see in here we've got, that's a rock, that's a rock. It's still not getting perfect, but it does help fill the cracks better. So like here, that's a pretty big, we'll put a rock in there. Rocks in here for sure, in there, things like that. And that just saves some of the stuff. So we put the epoxy down first to wet the walls and everything and make sure it sticks, and then you shove the rock inside, turn it over so it's got goop all over it, and then cover it on top. That works pretty good. So I've got one more tube left. I'm just going to blow through it. Eric's off to Home Depot right now. Get some more. Hello again. It is the next day, and I'm starting to get this crack filler stuff figured out. So the first stuff we used, as we showed, was this stuff. And it's basically a two-part epoxy like JB Weld. And then we ran out of that and it felt very expensive. So Eric went to Home Depot and got this stuff, crack filler. It says it's for asphalt driveways, rubberized. And of course we bought this and started using it without really doing any research. So I looked it up last night, and for painting, epoxy painting garage floors, you really only want to use an epoxy-based filler, not a rubberized filler, because the epoxy paint might not stick to this, and this might stay flexible underneath and cause the epoxy paint to crack or peel or whatever, so that's bad news. So last night we filled some holes, and I filled in this crack, which Eric is now trying to peel up a little bit. And I went to Home Depot this morning, because I saw it on their website. Rust-Oleum Epoxy Shield Concrete Patch Repair. This is bang for your buck stuff. This works out to be about 24 ounces of stuff, as opposed to the little Miracle whatever is only 8 ounces for $25 or $22. 24 ounces for $36. So this is a ton of stuff. I mean, you get these two big things that are pretty much full. You do have to mix them yourself. You don't get the fancy nozzle. The nozzle's kind of nice for getting in the cracks, but the putty works fine too. I put a glove on, I kind of scrape it in, and then I pat it in with my finger, and then you scrape it in. It works fine. So we're going to have to go over these again and just fill it in a little bit more. Now that we have about 2 kits of this, so it's about $70 or so, but totally worth it just to do it right the first time. So this is what we're doing today.
Good as new.
So with this part, this stuff. It's 2 parts gray stuff, 1 part white stuff. Mix them together, and we've been stretching it with sand, which I didn't like doing with the other tube stuff, but here, putting a handful of sand in there and then stirring it up works really, really well. So we're almost done with the cracks, actually. Still got this one, but we did that. We did a bunch of little holes. Did this crack. Did that. Redid a lot of the stuff from yesterday because we didn't have enough, so we kind of topped it up. So yeah, but did a bunch of little, there you go, little holes there. And then this was the black crack. We covered that all the way up. And yeah, we're almost done. So if your floor is as cracked as mine, I'd probably get 3 kits of that Rust-Oleum stuff. I got 2, thinking I would only need 1. But we're gonna use up 2 completely. So I'd get 3 and then...
And we already used a few tubes over there.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, and we used probably... So we would have gone through 3 kits, if that's all we used.
And you can always return stuff.
Yeah, you can always return them, don't forget that. So, yeah, it's looking good. So, this takes 8 hours to cure, which will be overnight, and then tomorrow we epoxy coat the floors. Yes, I've been waiting for this day for quite a while. What's up? It's the next day already. So the epoxy filler has dried and hardened, and all the sand that I put in, the stuff that I used a lot of sand to help kind of fill it and stretch it a lot. It sticks up a lot. Eric comes in and he complains and...
So the theory is that, you know, you can scuff your foot on it and kind of catch.
Because it is kind of gritty. It's like all of a sudden there's a piece of sandpaper right there.
And sweeping it up, things will get caught on it.
Yep, so Eric's got the palm sander, which works a little bit to at least take the big burrs off. And then I brought the angle grinder, and we're going to use these flap discs just to buff it down. Especially in the high traffic areas, like this coming in the side door here and then walking through the shop.
Yeah, there's going to be nothing covering the floor right here, so it'll be very noticeable.
Yeah, I don't mind seeing the cracks, like seeing where the epoxy is, but when it's bumping up and gritty like this, that's no good. So as of now, Eric used the angle grinder to sand down all of the cracks. They look much better that way. I think I just used too much sand and built it up too high, so it could be a trip hazard. You know, you'd kind of stumble on it every now and then. And you'd certainly feel the grittiness as opposed to the regular concrete. So I'm glad we sanded those down. And I'm glad we used the filler, but they kind of go hand in hand. And then I'm just taping off the bottom edge of the walls so that we can epoxy the floors. We ran out of tape, so Eric's getting more tape right now. And yeah, things are going great. So we're definitely going to get the first coat of epoxy done today. Grinding the floors definitely picked up a lot of dust, so that'll have to be vacuumed out. We've got the shop vac, but Eric went home and got his fancy Hoover vacuum. So he's going to put it on the hardwood floor mode, and yeah, you can see how dusty all this is. So we'll get all that dust out and then paint. So excited! Huge progress. Sorry. Been painting the floors and they look fantastic. probably already put in that time-lapse footage, but here's an overview of where we're at. I mean, it's a whole new place. And this is relatively clean concrete. When we first got in, it was just black and horrid. So when it's clean, it doesn't look too bad. But when it's all one color, it looks 1,000 times better. And I mean, up here, this was just rust before. Looks awesome. As always, I think it's going to take a lot more paint than we thought it did, than even the paint guy thought it did. So we bought 2 kits from Sherwin-Williams. Each has 2 gallons in it. And I think we might have to buy maybe up to 2 more to get 2 full coats on this floor. We're at 936 square feet here. And yeah, it's really soaking up the paint because the floor is so pitted and wavy and cracky, and it's just soaking up a lot of the paint. But needs must, do what has to be done, and let's get it done. Back at it again for another day. Today marks just after 3 weeks of owning this shop, and first coat of the floors is done. We'll do a second coat today, let it cure for about 4 days, get some actual work done back at home, and then start moving in. The floors look, oh my goodness. They look hashtag worth it. Yeah, I said it.
Nerd.
It took a lot more paint than we thought it would. But whatever, we're in it. The crack filler worked phenomenally well. I mean, you can't even see where the cracks are again. There's one there. Where else? There's one right here-ish. There. You can't hardly see them. There's one there going to the door. Grinding it down with the angle grinder was actually a really fantastic idea because it just smoothed. Huh? Yeah, Eric's idea. It just smoothed it out. Here's a crack that Eric filled with a lot less sand than I used, and we didn't grind this down because he got it pretty smooth. And you can just see it because it's glossy, but works fine. A couple cracks that we didn't fill, like this one, that are now very obvious. So we're going to try to fill some of them. Leftover paint from yesterday. It's got this icky soup skin on top, but once you crack through that, the epoxy, the paint, which was super thin yesterday, is like the consistency of the crack filler. So as Eric's doing right now, there's a bit in the bottom of here. And he's just glooping it into the cracks. So anyway, I got one more kit of paint. Sherwin-Williams Armor Seal 1000 HS comes in a 2-part kit, A and B. This was about $90 per can, so pretty much $200 for each kit, and this is our 3rd kit, so we're in $600 just for the floor paint, plus all the brushes and everything. Yeah, it really adds up, and it's not just the cost of the stuff, it's the time it takes to do it. I mean, to roll that on yesterday took probably 4 hours at least, plus all the prep work beforehand, like grinding down the sealer and stuff. It just really adds up. I'm not very good about estimating time schedules as much as I try. I need to really apply the rule of pi. Everything I think is going to cost and take 3.14 times more than I think it will. So I got to work on that. I don't know. Either I heard it or I made it up. I can't remember, but I kind of like it. It sounds about right, yeah. All this stuff is probably costing me about 3 times more than I thought it would, and it's taking about 3 times more than I thought it would. We've been here for 3 weeks, and I was like, oh yeah, 1 week, we could do that. Pressure wash 1 day, dry 1 day, paint 1 day, we're done. Yeah, right. Using cheap rollers, they fall apart and they leave fuzzy bits. So that'll paint over in the second pass. There's another one. Nice. So anyway, the epoxy is nowhere near fully cured yet. It'll take 4 or 5 days to really do that. So some of the bits are still soft. Anyway, we're gonna get that second coat on and let it cure. Well, I have good news and great news. The good news is the floors are completely done and finished and cured. It's been a week since we painted them, maybe a week and a day, and it looks so good in here. And the great news is I'm skipping some stuff because I got some different cameras, but we are almost fully moved in. But that's not for this video. That's a whole nother video. You get to see the whole moving process and everything. That was just a sneak peek. But yeah, the floors, oh man. It was a lot of work, completely worth it. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention my thoughts on the whole cleaning process and everything. I mean, the floors look awesome. So, let's see. With the paint, you have, I think it's a 4-hour work period before it starts to harden and it gets thicker. And so you can't use it, you can't finish it the next day after you mix the container. So it took us 3 kits. And a kit is, it's called 1 gallon, but it's 2 gallons. It's 1 gallon of part A and 1 gallon of part B. So it took us 3 kits like that, and each kit's about $200 or so. Probably cost us $600 or $700 in just in the epoxy paint itself to get this done. So like when we did the first coat, we went on thick, I edged, and there's this weird foam stuff around the edge of the concrete on the whole shop. And I dumped a lot of paint into those, into that edge just to seal it up a little bit. And we got about halfway through the shop before we're almost out of paint. So we had to open the second can, mix it up, finish the shop, and then we had quite a bit left over, maybe 10 or 15% of the batch left over. So by the front door here, we just gooped it on thick. It was kind of hilarious. And we, this section right here was a lot uglier and craggier before, but I mean, we literally just poured it into the crack. There's a couple cracks that go forever, so I didn't want to put too much into there. But it looks pretty sweet now. And as you can see, this section is thicker. There's less bumps because it's so thick on here. And so for the second coat, we got 1 more kit, and that went on way faster and way thinner. Because it's not filling in every little imperfection of the concrete, so you need way less paint. So even with 1 kit, so it took us 2 kits to do the first coat, one kit to do the second coat, and we still had like 15 or 20% left of the kit. So I mean, we went around and we filled in what we could. A neat tip is when you come back the second day, the paint, if you have any paint left over, it's congealed. Peel the top skin off, like icky soup skin, and then you have this really thick epoxy-like substance. So the stuff we use to fill the cracks, it's almost the same as the 1-day-old epoxy. It's not super hard yet. So on the second day we came back and we filled in all the cracks that we didn't do because we had a lot of this paint stuff. Spent a couple hours doing that. It was totally worth it because, I mean, you can't even see cracks in the floor now. I know where they are from before, but looking at them, you can't tell really where they are. Grinding it down with the angle grinder like we did was awesome. There's a crack here. You can kind of see it in the glare. One right there. Let's see, there's a big one that goes there. One that goes here. And then across there. A couple in the middle we didn't fill, but they really stand out. You know, all the ones we did fill, like this crack, if we follow it and we filled it here and it disappears, it's gone, you can't see it. So either don't do any or do it all, because if you leave a few uncovered like we did, they're very obvious. And using that 1-day-old paint is an excellent crack filler. I like it as much or more than the 2-part epoxy stuff, and you have a lot of it. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to fill the cracks. I'm really glad. I'm glad everything's worked. We did. I have no regrets. It took a lot longer and a lot more money than I thought it would. Let's see. Now it's been 4 weeks since we got the place, so we've been cleaning and painting for 3 weeks, let it dry for a little bit, moved in yesterday. As I said, there's a whole movie on that, so I'm not going to talk about that. And everything is awesome. This place is phenomenal. I'll give you a quick bird's eye view up the stairs here. I mean, this area looks amazing. Remember this greasy spot on the wall? It is starting to come through again. It's just because there was so much crap on that wall. Whatever, Eric will put something in front of that and you'll never see it. We haven't done the railings yet, but that's a down the road thing, no big deal. Now they stand out and look hideous. It's kind of funny. But there we go. We've painted pretty much every single surface in this shop. The Tormacs look tiny, which is awesome. And the floors look great. Okay, what else did I want to say? I think I've spent about just over $2,000 in cleaning and painting supplies. I looked at my receipts from Home Depot, from Sherwin-Williams, and a few other small places, and it's just over $2,000. So, I don't know. And we didn't even rent the pressure washer or buy one. We borrowed my father-in-law's. So that's a lot of money. It took us 3 weeks, $2,000 to do this. Both of our time, pretty much full time for 3 weeks. We didn't get any knife stuff done in that time. So, and I mean, we're paying ourselves on payroll. So we are literally, that's an expense because it comes out of my bank account to pay us. So it's a huge expense. There are companies out there that will clean and epoxy coat your floor. I've got quotes for about $3,000, $3,500. It is worth it if you value your time, if you have a dollar figure for your time, because it took us a lot of time. I don't regret it, but it's just a lot of money, and I was prepared to do what needed to be done, but it's kind of sticker shock after the fact. What else? I forget if I mentioned in the beginning of the video, but my neighbor who just moved in was getting his floors ground. So they've got a big concrete polishing grinding machine that they rented in, or had the guy come in and polish his floors. and they offered to do our floors too, but they rough quoted about $1,000, and I was like, nah, we'll just pressure wash it. But after looking at his floors, maybe if I get a chance, I'll take a quick video just to show you guys what it is, and then I'll insert it here, maybe. They look really, really, really good. After seeing my floors and how micro pitted they are, and his floors are smooth. They're really nice, and epoxy on that would look phenomenal. Like, I can look down here and see, you know, you see the texture, you see all the bumps. You wouldn't see that if it was a ground floor, like he's got. And then the company that did his floors also filled in all the cracks and then sanded them smooth. So if you want a really nice floor, do that, because Eric spent days and days and days pressure washing, degreasing, pressure washing, degreasing. That takes most of the effort out of it, is getting the floors ground. A lot of this oil goes down so far. I mean, we're seeing a little bit of oil pop up through parts of the epoxy, whatever. So yeah, grinding the floors in retrospect would have been worth it, because we paid Eric salary to be here for days and days and days to do that, and it would have been probably cheaper to have this company grind the floors, and it would have been a better result. Food for thought, food for next time. Anything else? Yeah, I don't know. That's about it. So the shop is more or less done. There's still a few things we need to paint, like the bathroom, the office on the inside, and the front door, and things like that, but there's no rush for that. I hope they happen, as opposed to don't just get forgotten about. I got the AC turned on today. It's the first time I turned it on. It's getting nice in here, because it's really hot outside. Had a bit of heat stroke yesterday moving. But you'll see that in the other video. So I'm going to wrap this up right now. Thank you so much for watching. I know it's a long video, but you want to come along with me, then you got to sit through the long videos. Yeah, having a lot of fun. Thanks all for watching, and see you next video. Bye.